Good evening and welcome to a joint planning and development subcommittee town council meeting. It's Thursday, August 6, 2026 at 7:07 p.m. We're in the Warrant Larry E. McDonald Veterans Meeting Room. It's possible a quorum of town council may be present and discuss the agenda item tonight, but voting rights shall be limited to subcommittee members in attendance. The items listed which may be discussed at the meeting are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. We're being recorded by both audio and video methods. That's the call to order. Roll call. Councilor Provost.
Present.
Councilor Lazo.
Present.
Citizen Member Larochelle.
Present.
I'm Councilor Daniel, the chair. Citizen Member Bernadone, the fifth member, is excused. We have 4 members present. That's a quorum. Okay, we have one agenda item tonight. This is the agenda item. Review, discuss amending the Town of Southbridge zoning bylaws with a temporary moratorium on the permitting, construction, and material expansion of data centers within the Town of Southbridge for a period of up to 12 months, with the option of up to 2 additional 180-day extensions, subject to approval by the Town Council, to allow time for a comprehensive study of the infrastructure, environmental, land use, and public safety impacts associated with such facilities. Entertain a motion to Town Council for approval on referral of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment on a town data center moratorium to the Planning Board pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, for review, public hearing, and recommendation to the Town Council.
Second.
Okay. It's obvious that there's a lot of interest in this agenda item tonight, and I appreciate the fact that there is a lot of interest in it. It's good to see that people are involved and want to let us know what they're feeling and what they're concerned about. It's excellent, and I'm very pleased to see such a wonderful turnout tonight. I want people to understand that this is not a council vote. This is a subcommittee vote to recommend to the council the way the subcommittee feels the council should go. The council meeting Monday night is where the actual referral will be voted on, either positively or negatively, by the town council to go to the planning board to start the process of initiating a moratorium. So this is the first step here. There's a second step Monday night, and then if it's a positive vote Monday night, the planning board takes over, and there's a process that we have to follow legally to amend the bylaws if it's so desired. There's the planning board. There's hearings by the planning board, there's hearings by the town council where the public gets to speak up and say exactly what it is that they need to see. And then eventually, if everything follows through, it comes back to the council to be voted on as an amendment to the bylaws. So this is a long, involved process. I'm told that it'll take, and from previous experience, it'll probably take 3 or 4 months to get the whole thing done. But we're starting as soon as possible, especially since we have the interest that was shown at the previous council meeting. Your councilors have seen that there's a lot of interest in this, and we're running with it to get it going as soon as possible. I'm going to ask the town manager to speak to it for a moment, and then if the committee has any questions, they will ask, and then I'll open it up to the floor for just a couple of questions or statements if that's possible. Please remember that according to Robert's rules, which you all follow, that statements that are made this evening, because it's a sub-council meeting, have to refer strictly to the agenda item, which is the referral. It's the referral to council. Okay? Thank you. I appreciate that. Mr. Manager.
Thank you. Through you, just very briefly, I know there was a lot of interest and comments made at the town council meeting, and as it's always great to hear the public come out and speak about issues that are before us and how we work through them. And as several councilors and myself and the planning department had a meeting last week to discuss the steps for this. There was discussion about the draft and the process. We did confirm with the attorney the right process is that the town council will submit to the planning board for the bylaw amendment, as we have done in other instances. So I know there's a draft that was proposed and worked through by several councils, and I'll let them discuss this. And to your point, the process really is the first step, and then referral. After the town council, if they vote to the affirmative, it will be 65 days for the planning board to hold that public hearing. That public hearing may or may not be joint hearings, as we have done when I was council chairman, and last year with the ADU bylaws, as town manager, we held those hearings jointly, which I think I would hope discuss with the planning board chairman about holding those, because I think those are the most productive, because everybody's at the table, we're able to vet the bylaw and any questions or concern. And then there's the whole process afterwards. So this is the first step, and again, it's just to refer your draft bylaw to the planning board for further action. So I'll defer to you and the councilors that have put forward the actual draft of the bylaw.
Very good. Are there any questions or concerns or statements by members of the committee? Councilor Osborne.
I'd just like to say there's a lot of interest in, this is a subject that we need a lot of interest. There's a lot of information goes out incorrectly, some correctly. Data centers, the information's all over the place. I think that doing our homework as a community, this worries me also. So I think going to the planning board and working together and getting the best solution just to find out what it is, because I don't know what a data center is. I'm straight about that. I am doing a lot of reading on it. I'd like to go visit one. But I think the planning board is a great place for it to land. Moratorium, whether we have a moratorium or not a moratorium, I was always under the impression with the zoning bylaws 4-2 paragraph A, I thought if it wasn't listed, it's not allowed. So there is no data center that's allowed in Southbridge right now. So I think going forward, if we control the agenda on finding the information, I know that we do some interesting stuff in Southbridge. We send gray water to the generator that uses it for cooling in Charlton. Then it comes back and it gets retreated. It took a long time to get that one project to make sure it was good for us. And me being a Southbridge First guy, your property, your livelihood, your environment is most important to me. And I think going forward, we'll work on it, especially with the planning board. I know we got some really good guys and girls on it to carry the ball on this. But I think the research on it is the most important, because we're kind of a unique community. We have a generation plant that runs into the system. We have rivers, we have our waterway. So I think going forward, as a community, let's do our homework. If it's a good thing, we'll find out. If it's a bad thing, we'll find out. And I can guarantee you, if it's bad for Southbridge, I will be voting against it. So there's a lot of work to go ahead. I welcome everybody to go to these meetings and learn about what the actual facts are. That's what we need to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Anyone else at the table? Citizen Larochelle.
Now, has the state put forward something that we definitely have to have in place?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to answer these questions. As of right now, there is not. I know Councilor Steves was brought up, I think it's 5134 House, I believe it is. There's some restrictions. The state is already implementing for any type of generator use or how fossil, they know about fossil fuels, and that's being pushed through the House right now. I believe it's a subcommittee on the data centers themselves. So they took off. I think the governor at one point in time was giving out some type of, a reduction for data centers or some type of fee, to help them move along, and she's just squashed that in this last fiscal year. So, at this point in time, trying to answer your question, no, but they're coming up with their own laws to come down, obviously, to the municipalities down the road. And I don't know how long that'll take, they'll open it out. Hope that answers your question.
It does. So
Okay.
then my thought is it's a good idea to have something in place for when they do come down and the state decides, yes, you're gonna have it, or yes, you're gonna look at it, you're gonna have to be allowed so many per whatever. If we have something in place, it's a good start.
I just as somebody that, Mr. Chair, through you, if you don't mind me, just to kind of generalize some of the stuff that's happening here. Councilor Klein had brought it to our attention. She provided a boilerplate from a previous town for some of the verbiage. Myself, Councilor Kelly started making the motion, ensure that the motion is done correctly and legally, making sure that the draft copy of this is done correctly and legally the best we can, right? And ultimately it'll be up to the planning board to put their language in there down the road, and then it'll be up to the town council. But I think what it is trying to get a hold of in front of the ball game, and I'll equate this to the marijuana cannabis, because I was deep in that, and we did planning board and the town council public hearing on that as well. The state turned around and has changed quite a few things that we originally voted for. Like we wanted certain things to happen for the town because those were the laws at the time. Since then, the state has dramatically changed a lot of the laws that has pretty much been against the municipalities. And it's hurt the municipalities a little bit as far as income coming in. And I foresee this, and I think it's a good idea for the council to take this up. I appreciate the chair to bring this to the subcommittee, to have everybody come out here and talk about it. I think it's a good time to be able to jump ahead of the game a little bit. There's other towns that are doing it, either a moratorium or outright ban. But I'm very careful about the outright ban because, again, the state can turn around and change a lot of things, and like they did with the storage facilities for batteries as well. So.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's it.
I'm also for now.
All set?
I want to see what people are going to say.
Okay. Very good. Councilor Kelly?
Thank you. Just to go over, right, like I said, I redrafted a lot of the language in the original template that we had. One of the things that this is adding it would add two sections to the zoning bylaw. It would add section 10.1 to, well, it wouldn't add section 10.1, but it would amend section 10.1 to add a definition of data center. Going through a lot of this language, we're talking about data center, and there's really, no one's defining it, so I went ahead and tried to come up with a definition of a data center, which basically, I think, confines it to what everybody, I think, is talking about, which are these large AI facilities that can consume immense amounts of power, immense amounts of water. Most of them are built in conjunction with battery storage centers because the way they operate is that in order to keep the grid steady, all right, for everybody else around it, when they draw power, they're drawing power from batteries, from battery energy storage system that it goes hand in hand with the data center. Now, most of these require immense amount of power. So you're talking a battery storage system that exceeds 100 megawatts. Typically, in most of these AI facilities, you're looking at a 500 megawatt battery energy storage system. So when they need to draw power, they're drawing it from battery storage as opposed to the grid, all right? And the grid is constantly refilling the batteries, if you will, all right? But if they don't have the battery storage system, then they they draw it right off the grid. And so when they draw power, basically everybody's lights will dim, okay, because they're drawing so much power. And then they have these systems there that require a lot of water to cool, right? Now this is just generally what these facilities need. Even the small facilities require a lot of energy. So what we're trying to do here is simply study the issue, and we want time to study the issue. So we don't want anybody to try to come in here and get a permit while we're studying the issue. So I've defined what a data center is, and I've tried to define it in a way that basically confines it to the data centers that I think we're all thinking. There's exemptions in here. For instance, if you just say data center, well, what does that mean? So, does it mean a computer room for a business, or does it? We want to make sure that that's exempted. So there is a language in the definition that would exclude things, localized IT rooms, server closets, computer infrastructure that is secondary to a business, okay, to an ongoing concern. So that's what that definition is all about. We also, in my research and reading, I realized that it's really best for us to have a very stated purpose here, so we don't appear to be just acting randomly. So in this section, we have the debt, we have the 365-day moratorium, and then there is a section 8.11.4, which will state the purpose. All right, and that's really to protect us and so everybody understands what our purpose is, and we actually have a real purpose behind this, and we're not acting arbitrarily. The extension is confined to needing time to complete planning, complete zoning bylaws. If we decide, if the planning board and the council agree that there are zoning bylaws that need to be implemented. So if those aren't completed, then the additional extensions, the 280-day extensions, will allow us to complete those things that are already in work, to complete studies that we've commissioned, things of that nature. But that's kind of the reasoning behind the language that we're promoting, that we're putting forward.
All right, any other councilors? Councilor Lazo.
Just a quick question. It's my understanding there is nothing requested as of today.
There is nothing requested of today. There are no applications. Nobody has attempted to file, do a site plan or a.
So it's safe to say we'll be out ahead of this.
We're way out ahead of this, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other councilors? Councilor Klein?
I just want to make note of 42A that you had brought up earlier, Councilor Lazo, about loopholes. I had a very long conversation with Ted a week ago about potential existing bylaw uses that could be challenged by somebody wanting to do a data center, which is also one of the reasons why I think it's important that we move forward with this moratorium so that we can protect the town and the residents and do the proper work.
I am in favor of what's in front of me. I thought Ted would interpret, not make policy and not make bylaws, but interpret the bylaw. But the bylaw I thought was pretty black and white. And that's why I was kind of surprised. But if we put a double safety on it,
I mean, I think a good example is the BEST project that got approved, a special permit, I think in 2021, and there was no definition for the BEST project in the bylaw then.
we'll be ahead of it. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, any other councilors? Council Steves?
I just wanted to dovetail off of what she was saying. I was thinking about that project as well. I was actually talking to the fire department earlier today, yesterday rather, and they were saying that first of all, that BEST project didn't go anywhere, which is a good thing. However, I would think we would have put language in there that would make sure that any project that has been approved, either BESs or solar fields, cannot be converted to data centers while we're doing this.
I understand what your concern is.
I've read some of some of that's been going on in the country too.
I understand that's your concern. I think that's best brought up in front of the planning board if this gets to the planning board after next Monday night's meeting. It's a valid concern, though, very valid concern. Councilor Adams.
Mr. Chair, through you, but I also know Katie would like to have a few words. about maybe a point of clarification on one of the comments made earlier. But be able to get ahead of the, I understand we can put everything in this bylaw at this point, trying to do it, but we gotta let the planning board do their job and trust their research and the public hearings and the, all the research that they're required to do to make sure that, again, this is a very good document, but it doesn't mean it's the complete document. We also want to be, or maybe at the end when the planning board comes back to us, this is the process to start legally where we need to be. I just wanted to turn it over to the town planner, maybe with a point of clarification. Mr. Chair.
I just wanted to clarify about the question of battery storage, that while there may not have been definition of battery storage in 2021, it was included in the table of uses and was allowed by special permit, which is how that permitting process went forward.
Thank you. Councilor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Just to speak to Councilor Steve's point on vessels.
Yeah.
We are very, very limited in what we can do with battery energy storage systems. In fact, the 2024 Climate Act pretty much limits, really restricts us. We cannot put a moratorium in for battery energy storage systems or anything involving solar. All right. Chapter 48, Section 3 discusses it, basically allows for solar. It's really taken out of the municipality's hands. The state has for anything larger, anything that would require the kind of energy that a data center would need. That is now a permitting system that runs through the state, not the community. Because it's called the Energy Facilities Siting Board. All right, so that all has to go through there. So we have almost no control of battery energy storage systems, except under 100 megawatts. Sure.
Let me just clarify in a second. I understand that, yes. In fact, Maureen has been looking at following some of the process going on. It's really complicated. But what my concern is just making sure that that we can stop them, the companies proposing those and then converting them into data centers while we're studying this. Trying to take advantage of the existing approvals and then convert it over. Because that's what's been happening in some parts of the country. That's what I worry about. I'm not talking about preventing solar or vessels.
I can address that. Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Kelly.
I don't think that's really a worry. I think in order to do that, they would have to apply for permits, no doubt. And they would have to increase their battery storage capacity, so they would have to go through the state board, they have to get state permits to do that. They just couldn't just convert that overnight. That'd be just such a huge project. In order to complete something like that, they would have to go through the town. They would have to do a new site plan. They would have to do. I mean, I just don't think that's a risk.
I hope it's not, but I've seen some everything that they're doing in other parts of the country.
Thank you. Let's please remember that the agenda item tonight is to review and discuss the referral to town council. Council Lazo.
I'm good. I just wanted one quick one. Gus is bringing up the solar fields. We put the moratorium on, that would cover it.
Well, we couldn't address solar fields.
Okay.
We just
But if they say, I want to turn a solar field into the data center, does in other words, the use of the land use qualify for that?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
No way.
Councilor Klein.
Yeah, I just want to bring up that the original draft that I proposed did include the BES as one of the clauses, and it was mirrored after the West Springfield moratorium. Basically, it's not asking to exclude BES projects, but it's saying that if there's a BES project in the works, the data center can't slip in the back end.
Yeah.
Which is why it was in the draft in the first place, mostly because I know that we had the special permit out for that BES project up on Dresser Street.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what the status of that is, if it's complete, if the permit's expired, or Dresser Hill, sorry.
Okay,
Do you want to?
very good. Any other counselors at the table, citizens at the table? Okay, Katie, you wish to speak? Planning,
To answer the question about the status of the battery storage permit, it, from my understanding, was extended under the state's permit extension act, so it would be valid through the end of this year. But work has not begun on it, but if they chose to, they could do so through the end of this year or apply for an extension.
thank you. Okay, again, I understand people's concerns with the battery storage. It's a legitimate concern, but these issues would have to be addressed by the planning board and by the council in the appropriate time and place. Tonight is strictly step number one, where we're voting eventually to decide on whether or not we're going to make a positive or negative referral to the town council to vote to extend a request for a moratorium to the planning board. Are there any more comments from the councilors or the citizen members of the table? Very good.
I do have a question. If we were to do this as a general bylaw moratorium, would we actually have to go through the zoning bylaws? Could the council just do it directly?
Mr.
It
Manager,
was sent to our attorney, KP Law, and it has to be done through the zoning process.
through the zoning process. Very good. Okay. Any more councilors' questions? Committee? Mr. Shania?
Thank you. Just to make myself understand and go for the people too. Tonight's meeting is not about the pros and cons of a data center. Tonight's meeting is the process
Correct.
of getting to the moratorium. So tonight, if you guys decide to vote it, to go up to council, it's either going to be favorable, no recommendation, or against it. Once it gets to council, council votes that to either agree with what the subcommittee did or disagree with the subcommittee did.
Mm-hmm.
So if they agree, they send it to the planning board.
Correct.
Planning board will bring in a public hearing in which I believe they have 65 days to hear or open the hearing. To open the hearing, not necessarily close it, I believe that at least open the hearing and act on it. So once the planning board does its hearing process, it comes back to subcommittee with the recommendation from planning board. Or does it go to full council?
Comes back to council.
All right, so it'll go to council.
Yep,
Okay, at council, you're gonna do three readings.
correct.
For it to take effect, if it's a favorable vote to go that way, it takes 2/3 supermajority of 9 councilors, am I correct? Not majority.
For what?
For the bylaw to take effect, I believe it takes 9 councilors to be present, and then the supermajority is 2/3.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody would have to be there, either approve it or not. At least that's the research I did on the 40 that it takes, and I can probably read a little bit about it.
Well,
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Manager,
According to KP Law guidance, and we'll verify it, but, so, once the planning board submits the recommendations, then the town council, within 90 days, the proposal must be voted by the town council within 90 days of our hearing.
mhm.
And then a quantum of vote is a simple majority or 2/3 vote of the town meeting or city council. In a city or council with less than 25 members, all votes are 2/3 if a timely written protest is made by a qualified number of property owners. So,
So if I understand you right, if I may continue, the town council acts as the town meeting, am I correct?
Yes.
So it takes 2/3 vote. And since there's 9 members of the council, it takes 2/3 vote of 9 members, so it would be 6. And if only 8 showed up, you wouldn't be able to vote because you wouldn't have the 9 members.
You can
No.
still have 6 is still the majority, it's still 2/3 of the council.
2/3 of the majority.
You still have
I
6.
think
If
you
say
could
it's
look
6
into
votes,
that.
it's still-
Okay,
You find
okay.
out for sure, but I believe
We'll-
it's 2/3 of 9.
If we, when we get
When we
there,
get to that point.
if and when we get there, we'll definitely know what we're doing.
But I just wanted,
Promise.
people understand what the process, it's not gonna
Thank
happen
you.
overnight.
That was well said.
It's gonna take some time. The other thing I would like to suggest is that since it's such a hot topic and we feel the lack of giving the information out, I think it should go on the, like tonight's agenda, Councilor Kelly's thing that he was reading from, I think that should be made available to everybody, not just an agenda item, because then they don't know what's going on. So I think those kind of things need to start going on the town's website, so the general public has access to those documents that you have, as long as they're not executive session memos, those kind of things. I think it's important because it helps prevent social media stretches. You know, if they have the document in front of them, you know. It's like people came here tonight expecting to be able to come to the committee and vote, you know, give the pros and cons of the data center.
Right,
And I know that wasn't the intent of the meeting, it was the intent to forward it over to the planning board.
yeah.
And I appreciate your leniency that you have given it, but I think it's important to stick to the subject matter.
Thank you, I appreciate the compliment. I also thank you for the description of the process, that was well said. It was very well said. Councilor Klein?
Just, Jack, can you clarify whether, when the planning board gets it, whether it's 21 days or 65?
So, within 14 days of receipt, the Board of Selectmen or the council must submit the proposal to planning board. So we're submitting it up to the council. Within 14 days from it going from council, it has to go down to the planning board. Within 65 days after submittal to the planning board and city council, town council, if any, must each hold public hearing, which may be separate or joint hearings. Okay? So they submit it to us. We then publish a notice of the hearing, and it has to be in the paper as well as other places for not less than 14 days. It means 2 successive weeks, so we have to post it twice in the paper and then have the hearing. The town meeting or town council may not vote on the proposal until either the planning board submits written or oral report with recommendations, or 21 days have elapsed between planning board hearing and town council vote. Proposal must be voted by town council within 90 days of the town council hearing. And then it goes to the quantum of vote depends on the substance of the proposed zoning bylaw ordinance. Okay, so a simple majority, 2/3 of the town council. However, it also says certain statutes as Mass General Law, Chapter 40R, or certain amendments under the Housing Choice Act only require a simple majority vote. So I think under that language, but we'll get clarification as to what the number of votes. But timing-wise, yes. So once it goes in, we have to follow the specific steps for planning.
Yeah, I'm just asking because I thought I had read that it was 14 days from the time either clerk received it to the council and then 21 days in planning and then back to council. So
Yeah.
that'd be great to get clarification.
I can send this out to you, to the KP Law update on that.
What's that? What's that? Helen?
Yeah. Town chair, could you clarify, is it 14, is it business days or normal days? Is it Sunday through Saturday or is it Monday through Friday?
It just says 14 days. So I think, I'll double check. But I think with days, it does include the weekends. And that, but I'll double check on that. I'm not sure. Councilman?
Typically statutorily, anything over 7 days is calendar days.
Calendar days. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Shania?
Just did a little bit of research that I've done today was through some of the KP websites, Maya, and out there in the general thing. And for Southbridge, it says, you know, does the final vote to enact the data center moratorium require 2/3? The answer is yes. Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, unless there is some unusual provision in the Southbridge Charter that changes only the procedure, it cannot override the state zoning voting threshold. And that's where I come up with, it says where it needs 9 council members present. And with it being a hot topic, I would strongly suggest that somebody looks at something.
We'll look into it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great. Councilor Adams?
Just a caveat on Mr. Shanier's comment, it's 2/3 of all members of the council. 2/3 is 6 votes, right? If you have 6 people there, and they all vote 6, all for it, that's 2/3, okay? If it's 7, 7 or 1, it's still 2/3.
But it says, if I may, it says that 2/3 of 9 members
It's
present. The 9 members have to be present because they
No.
Because it's
I
not.
guess we would have to have
We'll look into
an
it.
opinion on that.
We'll look into it. We'll
Thank
make
you.
sure that we find out.
So,
We'll make sure that we find out the right way. We're not gonna mess it up. We're gonna do it right the first time.
The town manager would enlighten me on that when he gets that.
We'll look into it. Okay, 1 second. Any other counselors? Ma'am, please.
I would just ask, I agree with George as far as I remember the bylaws and the rules and regulations. So through you to the chair, couldn't the town manager run that through the legal counsel and get back to us with an answer on that?
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
'cause I agree with what George is actually saying.
Okay.
So to get clarification, if you would be so kind, Mr. Town Manager.
And we're a long way off before you get
legal
some, so we
counsel.
have much time to
Just-
make sure we have everything correct.
Thank you. Thank
Are there
you,
any,
Chair.
you're welcome. Are there any citizens that would like to address the committee regarding the positive or negative referral of this agenda item to the council? Ma'am?
I think from what I've heard this evening here, I think that you're really putting forth the proper steps to actually guide us and prepare us. So for this evening, I agree with, I think you're taking the right steps in the right direction at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Gentleman in blue.
How you doing, Mark Papineau, 37 Charlton Street. You said black and white, so, my question is, why did you choose Southbridge? Because we're less than 20,000 people? Is that why you choose us? And you didn't go anywhere else? Because all the other towns that have these data centers are small towns. And all they do is wreck the town. Because once they get here and stay here, our property value is gonna go down 25% off the bat. So everything in Southbridge is gonna go down.
We hear that. We hear that concern, and that's why we're going about getting the moratorium to stop that from
Can anyone tell
happening.
me why you choose this? It's black and white. So the people that want to
As
put
was,
this,
as was
have a gray
stated,
area where they're gonna work.
as was stated a bit earlier, there is no process in place right now. No one has come to us and said we want to put one in place. So we can't answer that question because there's nothing happening right now in terms of someone wanting to come in and actually do it. There's no appeal before the planning board or to the council or anything like that. So I can't answer that question. I don't think anyone can because there's nothing that's happened yet in that process. Why other places do it in the country, that's up for speculation. But in Southbridge, there's nothing going on yet. There's nothing going on yet.
I just wanna, wonder why they choose us.
It's a good question. It's a good question. Maureen?
I would encourage you members of the subcommittee to vote favorably to send it up to the council because the moratorium needs to be voted on. And if I would just suggest, we're an EJ, environmental justice community. That's why.
Okay. Okay. Man in the back.
I just hope the vote tonight is to move it forward. Moratoria, regardless of where they are happening, are traditionally to do with, historically anyway, environmental issues that might threaten a community. In the past, years ago, it was things like incinerators, those kinds of things, horses of that sort. And a moratorium allows the community to do exactly what was described by this committee tonight. Get the facts together, get your bylaws in place, figure it out, and clearly most people in this room would like it to end in what for us we believe would be a positive result, which is no data centers. But moratoria give communities time to look at these possible propositions and
things, and I just hope the votes is to kick it down the line and get it going.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other citizens? Council Steves.
This is actually a point to go back to what former Councilor Jenny was mentioning. Our charter, section 2-5-4 specifically states, in no instance shall it be required that all members of the council be present at a meeting to allow the conduct of business. We do not, all 9 people do not have to be there, but you may have to we still have to have 6 votes. Not all 9 do not have to be
Okay,
there.
we'll make sure that that's the way it's supposed to be. We'll double check on that.
That's what the
Thank you.
charter says.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There being no further discussion, again, a yes vote on this is to refer positively to the town council Monday night, to ask the planning board to start the work on a moratorium. A no vote means that you do not wish the town council to move forward with this. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. We're going to go with a positive vote on Monday night. Item number 4 is to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?